Hey guys, so we're in chapter 9, chemical equations part 2. So far we've learned how to detect whether a chemical equation is balanced or not. We've learned how to balance simple chemical equations that are unbalanced. Now we're going to get into balancing hard, unbalanced chemical equations. And so you're going to ask yourself, where do I need a coefficient? So many times. And so remember the rules. You can add a coefficient, but you cannot change the subscripts or remove or add any elements. And the coefficients do not have to be the same on either side. Okay, so let's get into this. Our first question is this equation balanced? So I like writing my elements on either side so I can keep up with it. And so we're going to see there's 1 potassium, 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. There is 3 hydrogen, 1 potassium, and 1 oxygen. So is this equation balanced? No, it's not. So where do I need the coefficient? Well, where's the imbalance? The imbalance is in the hydrogen. So because neither one of these subscripts or neither one of these numbers are divisible into each other, we're going to find the common factor. Okay, so we know that there's only 1 hydrogen on this side, but there is 2 listed on the producing side. So we know that we want to make them balanced. So it's not like this subscript is a 3. If it was a 3, that would be easy. We would put a 2 here, a 3 here, and we would get 6 on either side. But that's not what's going on here. So if we add a coefficient to this 1 hydrogen, it will change this 1 hydrogen to 2. And 2 times 2 is 4. So let's try that. This becomes 4. And all we have to do on this side is add a 2. You see what I did there? I noticed that if I added a 2 on this side, it would make it 4. But if I added it to this 1, it would turn that 3 into 4. And so it's process, just looking at your chemical reaction and seeing where it needed it the most. Okay? Now, the hydrogen is balanced. But oh no, that 2 coefficient threw off the potassium, turned it into a 2. It threw off the oxygen, turned it into a 2. Oh no. And on this side, this 2 coefficient turned this oxygen into 2. So now the hydrogen and the oxygen are balanced, but the potassium is now imbalanced. Where do I need a coefficient? Well, it's kind of obvious, right? This potassium is all by itself, and it just needs a 2. And there, that's a simple balance of a chemical equation. Do you see what I did? Now we're going to move on to this next one. It's a little bit more difficult. And Miss Devereaux needs to take a deep breath. Now when we're doing this, I want you to only focus on the element that you're looking at. Don't think about 2 steps ahead. Don't think about what you just did. Only focus on the element that we're doing. The first question we have to ask is this equation balanced? Let's check it out. There's 1 nitrogen, 3 hydrogen, and 2 oxygen. There's 1 nitrogen, there's 2 oxygen, and there's 2 hydrogen. So is this chemical equation balanced? No, it's not. It's imbalanced where? Where do I need a coefficient? It's imbalanced at the hydrogen. Now here we go. So this hydrogen is a 2, but this hydrogen is a 3. We have to find the common factor for that, right? That's normally what we do. So what can we do to balance these equations, these hydrogens? Well, it's simple. We put a 3 on this side because 3 times 2 is 6. And we put a 2 on this side because 2 times 3 is 6. Now is the equation balanced? Well, let's check out the rest of it. So now that we've put the coefficient in front of the hydrogen, it also reacts with this oxygen. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 oxygen. Oh, look, and I didn't count. Yep, we have 4 oxygen, right? Now, on this side, this 2 changed the hydrogen to 6, but it also changed this nitrogen to 2. Do you see that? So the hydrogen is balanced, but where do we need a coefficient? So the next step is either oxygen or nitrogen. So in my mind, I'm going to mess with the oxygen next. So which oxygen will I mess with? Well, I'm going to mess with the reaction side and add a 2 here, because 2 times 2 is 4. And now our hydrogen is balanced, our oxygen is balanced, but our nitrogen is off. See, we're taking it one step at a time, okay? So I have 2 nitrogen on the reaction side, but I only have 1 on the producing side, and I'm trying to make it a 2. So I'm going to go ahead and add a 2 here to the nitrogen side, to the producing side. But look, does that balance the equation? Well, no, because this coefficient 2 reacts with this oxygen, and it makes it 2. So now I have 2, 3, 4. I have 5 oxygen. Do you see my conundrum, my dilemma? My nitrogen is balanced, my hydrogen is balanced, but now my oxygen is off. And this is where I get stuck without the process of elimination. Because the problem isn't that there's a 5 and a 4. The problem is there's 2 oxygens represented in the produced side of this chemical equation. And we have to figure out the best way to change these oxygen to make them match with this oxygen. So right now, this 3 isn't divisible at all with these 2's. And this 2 plus 3 equals 5. So this 3 is the problem. Because if this 3 was a 2, we could change this 2 to something else and it would be divisible by 2 and they would balance. So what can we do to this 3 to help that along? So I think if we change this 3 to 4, we have 4 oxygen plus 2 will make 6 oxygen. Well, how do we make this? No, that's 2 oxygen. Yeah, that's 2. That's 6 oxygen. And how do we make this 6 oxygen? We put a 3, which makes this 6 oxygen. Well, now the oxygen is balanced, right? But now because we've changed this hydrogen, this H2O, this hydrogen becomes an 8. 4 times 2 is 8. Because you remember, you multiply the subscript by the coefficient. But you add the coefficients when you're doing like 2 plus 4 is 6. Or you add the subscripts, but you always multiply the big number with the little number. You always add the big number with the big number. You always add the little number with the little number. But you always multiply it when it's a big number and a little number, okay? So now we have 8 hydrogen on the producing side, but we only have 6 hydrogen on the reaction side. Now, we are balanced in our nitrogen and we're balanced in our oxygen, but we're imbalanced in our hydrogen. So, there's a problem here. Okay? This 3 right here, if we change this 2 to a 3, it makes it a 9. Well, that's not divisible. 9 and 2 and 4 and 8 and 6, they don't divide into each other at all. There's no common factor in there at all. So what we have to do is we have to find out what number we can add here that multiplies to this, that will also multiply into this to balance the equation, because if I put a 3 here, that's a 9, right? If I put a 4 here, 4 times 3 is 12, right? So what would I have to do over here to make this a 12? So let's try that. 4 times 3 is 12. Well, if I turn this 4 into a 5, that's 10. But if I make it a 6, that's 12. So my hydrogen is satisfied, right? My hydrogen is satisfied, but because I changed this 4, this 2 to a 4, my nitrogen now is unbalanced, okay? And because I changed this 4 to a 6, my oxygen is imbalanced again. What is my oxygen now? My oxygen is an 8. So my hydrogen is balanced, but my nitrogen is off, and my oxygen is imbalanced. So where do I need a coefficient? Right? So what do we need to do next? Well, I think the simplest fix is to deal with the nitrogen first. Okay? Because it's going to change the oxygen. It might give us the right answer. So we're going to deal with this nitrogen next. So since we've already got 4 over here, what do we need to do on the producing side to make this a 4? I mean, yeah, we need to change it to a 4, right? So now our nitrogen balances, our hydrogen balances, but oh no, 4 plus 6 is 10. Now we have 10 oxygen. Well, where do I need a coefficient? So we have 10 oxygen over here, but we have 6 over here. Thank goodness there's only 1 oxygen represented on this side. Because if we change, what do we have to change this 3 to make it a 10? We need to change it to a 5. All right? And look at that. Let's double check our chart and see if it's balanced. I think it is. So this 4, there's 4 nitrogen, there's 12 hydrogen, and there's 10 oxygen. Okay, and on this side there's 4 nitrogen, there's 4 plus 6, there's 10 oxygen, and 6 times 2, that's 12 hydrogen. So now we have a balanced equation. Just remember that you must take it one step at a time and think about what you're doing. If you have any questions, let me know. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.